Oops, ew, stinky. What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Laser Show. Simply the best podcast that there is, in my humble opinion. Episode 9, this is. And this time, I'm going to talk about my little West Coast tour of comedy shows that I just did. And let me tell you, on this was a 16-day road trip. And folks, I have a newfound respect for the idea of a podcast. I'm not a podcast guy. I haven't listened to a podcast in years. I sometimes back in the day would listen to Rich Eisen. I would listen to the Norm Macdonald podcast, rest in peace. But I just don't listen to podcasts. I rather listen to my stupid music. And I certainly don't produce podcasts very well. This is episode 9, and I've been doing this for, first episode was December 2020, almost 3 years now. So I do about 3 a year. And, but now I have, man, if you want to get sick of all the songs you've ever liked in your life, just do a 16-day road trip by your damn self. Because, man, about day 10, I just couldn't do it anymore. Started listening to some podcasts. Fine, I listened to podcasts. And great stuff. Panthers, I was listening to some Panthers podcasts. I'm a Panthers fan. That was pretty bleak. The sports gambling podcast, can't recommend that enough. Great podcast with my friend Sean Green. Great stuff. And really just helped pass the time. So if you're listening to this podcast, thank you for listening. I have to assume you're on a 16-day road trip right now. By your damn self. In which case, hey, drive safe. 10 and 2, buddy. Eyes on the road. I can't imagine why else you would be listening to this. Because only 457 people listened to the last one. Man, I thought my last episode 8 would be a big hit. I recorded it on video. And I'm not recording this one on video because it took up a lot of space. That was an hour and a half podcast. And I recorded the whole thing and I had to upload the whole video. That damn near fried my damn computer. So I'm probably not going to do that anymore. Sorry. But I thought it was a really interesting story that people would be interested in, which was my big Spirit Airlines fucking shit show I had a few months ago. But alas, my downloads plummeted. My download numbers for my 9 episodes, my 8 episodes so far go as this: 1,085, 757, 729, my birthday, 828, 863, 869, 972, and then down to 457 for the latest episode. Just half. Less than half of the previous episode. What happened? You guys get spooked? Do people get spooked by the hour and 27 ticker? Or maybe people just watched it on YouTube because I uploaded the video to YouTube. Maybe people wanted to see my beautiful face. I know my friend John Horan did that. Shout out John Horan. Thanks for watching my whole YouTube video of my podcast. An hour and 27 minutes. What a friend. So this one I'll try to keep it under an hour. I don't want to spook people with 3 separate numbers. 1:27:52. Nah. I'll keep it to 2 separate numbers. I'll try to keep it to 55:19, something like that. What if it was exactly that? Whew! Would be tight. But I'm talking about this West Coast road trip, and this thing all came together just last year. End of last year, I really put out some feelers, just to post on some social media that I wanted to do more road stuff this year. That's the only way to make money doing comedy. I live in LA. There's no money to be had here. You're just doing little showcases. Maybe they'll throw you $20 or something. But if you want to make money doing comedy, you got to do the road. And you don't have to be good, because I'm not. You just got to try real hard and email a lot of people. And I'm emailed a lot of people. I can't imagine I will do a tour quite like this ever again, because it was, and I would like to, but it was really hard to do. Just to get all these shows to work out geographically. Going all the way up. I went all the way up from LA all the way up to Seattle and then back. And then shows all the way up and shows all the way down. And it took a lot of emailing. All me. I put the whole thing together. Just me. Emailing and messaging, Instagram, whatever, Facebook. Anyone I could. One show I got through my manager. Portland show. Great show. So that, out of what, 17, 16 shows or something? So it can be done. It can be done, but it takes a lot of work. I got responses from maybe 10% of the emails I sent. And I was really I hit up people that I knew in different cities, which wasn't a ton. And then from there, it was really just like Googling a city and comedy shows in that area, seeing what shows they had, and emailing those people. Would you like to do another show on this night? I'm going to be in the area this night. And the vast majority of the time, it didn't work out. But sometimes it did. So I put a whole damn run of shows together, really based on this post I made last year that I want to do some more road stuff. And a venue in Santa Cruz reached out. And really the whole tour I based around this Santa Cruz show. And this club in Pleasanton reached out. Oh, do I have things to say about that place? So Pleasanton is kind of in the ballpark of Santa Cruz. Okay, let's get these two back to back. And then we start building from there. And I started in Bakersfield all the way up to Seattle and all the way back in 16 days. And 14 of those days I had shows. One day I had off, and one day I just had to go to the Reno Aces game and throw out a first pitch at the game, and that was my only duty for the night. So those were the days that I had. And the first 3 shows, I brought my friend Jack Robichaud with me, of Dead Kevin fame. My guy. It is a blast doing the road with your guys. And so the first 3 shows, and then he flew back after that. So about 2 weeks before this trip is about to begin, and I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know what any of these shows are going to be like, really. Most of them are not at clubs. They're just random, just like bars or whatever. But about 2 weeks before, I get a text from Dimitri Martin's agent asking if I could open for him on Friday and Saturday. And Saturday was the Bakersfield show, so I said I could only do Friday. And so sometimes it's been a few years now, I get to open for Dimitri Martin, like once a year. I haven't seen him in about a year and a half was the last time I opened for him. And before that, I think it was like a couple of years. And how does an oaf like me, a jamoke like me, open for Dimitri Martin? Well, back in the day, I used to be at Dimitri Martin's agency. We had the same agent, or not the same agent, but the same agency called UTA. And we don't like UTA. If you're out there wondering, do I like UTA or do I not? You don't. Fuck UTA. May they burn. But when we were at the same agency and Dimitri was looking for some openers for some like California shows, they sent him a few tapes of UTA clients that could potentially open for him. And he liked my tape. And my friend Ahmed Barucha, also of Dead Kevin fame, he's opened for him a few times. He liked Ahmed's tape, stuff like that. So I've opened for him here and there. And of course, his shows are always the biggest shows I've ever done in my life. He'll get like a couple thousand people. My shows, as you're about to hear, sometimes don't get any people at all. So the Friday show was in Anaheim. So that's sick. Tack that onto my little tour run. Start off in Anaheim. But that doesn't count as like part of like the road trip, you know. So I did the Anaheim show. Great show. 1,700 people. My aunt and uncle came. They got to see their boy do pretty well. I did okay. Good to see Dimitri. Great guy. If you're wondering if Dimitri Martin is a great guy, he is. Though his agency sucks. They have since let me go, is why I say that. In 2021, as things were opening back up, slowly but surely, they just dropped me across the board. Stand-up, theatrical, lit. And they said, well, we simply aren't getting him enough work. This is what they told my manager. We simply aren't getting him enough auditions. He deserves to go be with someone who can pay more attention to him. Well, why don't you just pay attention to me then? What are you talking about? We're not paying attention to him, so we're going to let him go. And then I got a call back like a couple days later for this show, and I almost got on the show, and UTA was calling, trying to be like, well, we still almost represent you. No, you don't. No, you don't. I didn't answer. I didn't book the show anyway. What are you going to do? I don't book shit. Anyway, Dimitri's show, that was great. But then I go home and I get some nice rest. And the big road trip begins tomorrow. Bakersfield, California. Heard of it? It's awful. It's me and Jack. Jack's doing the first 3 shows. And for this show, I also brought my friends Greg and Pat. Greg Santos and Pat Quinn. Great comics. Check them out. So the 4 of us are just we're the comics for the show. Because it's a free-for-all. Every single, I don't know what's going to happen at any show, but the Bakersfield show, the most didn't know what I was getting myself into. Because I'm sending all these emails, and most people are not getting back to me at all. And some are hesitant, and some are, various levels of professionalism. And my first show at this point was in Santa Cruz, and I was like, I want to get another show between here and, because Santa Cruz is like 5 hours. I got to do something in between. I was looking at Bakersfield, Fresno, and I hit up this, a brewery in Bakersfield called Crusader Brewing. Thank you for having me, Crusader. And I was just like, hey, my name's Ryan O'Flanagan. I'm a comic in LA. Gonna be passing through. It's like a Saturday night, so I figure that's like an easier night to get a show than a weekday. And I was wondering if you'd like to put a show together. I can send you a tape and a bio, blah, blah, blah. And they just responded within 10 minutes. They just go, yeah, what time? Can be any time after 6. And I was like, how's 8? And they're like, okay. And I was like, fuck, do you have a microphone? Do you have a stage? They're like, yeah, we got a mic. And I was like, are there other comics? And they were like, just bring whoever you want. So I was like, fuck, I gotta fill this whole show. So I brought 3 other boys, Jack, Pat, and Greg. Got an Airbnb in Bakersfield. We get to the venue. It's so hot. This whole trip was so fucking hot. So Bakersfield was 96, I believe. So hot. We're just sweltering. And we want to wear shorts so bad, but it's a Fox Pass, folks. It's a Fox Pass to wear shorts on stage. Some people do it. And it doesn't bother me at all, but I don't know. I guess it's a bit of a Fox Pass. So I've never done it. I don't do it. None of us did it. We all wore our fucking hot pants. Not hot pants, but just regular pants that were hot. To this show, to Crusader Brewing, which is a straight up, pretty conservative, don't tread on me kind of place. And it's just a bar, and then they have a big back area that's almost like a big barn. And then in the back they have outdoor seating with a cornhole and stuff and some tables, and it's a cool spot. But very, they support the troops. And so the show was in the big barn area. So you had the gigantic fan. They had the biggest fan I've ever seen in my life blowing against the stage. Won't be the first time on this tour that there's a gigantic fan. It was a very hot couple weeks in August. Shouldn't have done an August West Coast run. A foolhardy thing. But the fan's blowing, and they have this huge American flag hanging behind the stage. Just blowing in the fan's breeze. And me and my boys do our shit. Pat, Greg, Jack, me. By that time, I'm with my 3 boys. I'm in Bakersfield. It's a Saturday night. I was fucking drunk like a skunk. As a skunk, I think is the phrase. By the time I got up. So I kind of stumbled through. Didn't do a ton of my jokes, but I didn't have faith in them. And, got through it. It was fun. The people there were awesome. People kept coming up after, and they were like, hey, we got about 30 people out to that one. That was about the average for a lot of these shows, about 30. That's about where I'm at career-wise, how many people want to come see me in a given city, plus whatever people just happen to stumble in. 30 people, and they kept being like, we're fans, but we don't go to this bar. Oh shit, sorry. But bar was great. I got more money than I thought I was gonna get. Because I really, based on that, our interaction and with the venue, I didn't know if anyone was gonna show up. I had to make the flyer. They were like, send me a flyer. So I'd make the flyer and send them a flyer. And but then 30 people came out. Saturday night, go out on the town in Bakersfield. Bakersfield, very ugly town. One of the worst looking cities I've ever seen. Uh, but met some cool folks. Went to some Bakersfield bars. There was no part of Bakersfield that I saw and was like, this is good. And we drove around like a lot of the town, and it was all fucking pretty bad looking. But I won't give up on Bakersfield because a nice man told me to not give up on Bakersfield. We went out, with some of the people from the show, and I said, everyone come back to the Airbnb. We had an Airbnb, so we bring some folks back. Me and my 3 friends, and then like 3 or 4 other people, go in our separate cars, and we both stopped and got a shit ton of Taco Bell before we went to the Airbnb. We all showed up and had so much Taco Bell and made a fucking mess. We were all hammered. And there's shredded cheese everywhere. I cleaned it up. But yeah, man, this one guy kept going, man, don't give up on Bakersfield. And we kept being like, we won't, dude. We won't. And honestly, I won't. Because Lord knows it went better than I thought I was going to go. And, crash at the Airbnb. Get up. We leave at 10:15. This motherfucker, the guy who runs the Airbnb, gave me a shitty review. This guy says, he said 3 things about me. Jesus, this fucker Jesus. He says, checked out a little late. I checked out at 10:15, and it was a 10 o'clock checkout. Sorry. And he said, can be slow to communicate. And then he said, is clean. Yeah, you better say is clean. I cleaned the shit out of that place before we left. That's what made me have to leave at 10:15. Also, we were really hungover. And Pat slept in a chair, sitting up. Stuff like that. But fuck you. Checked out and a bad communicator? I'm sorry, we're talking on the Airbnb.com. We're not texting. I'm going to respond a little bit later than the message you sent. I'm sorry, Jesus, you prick. I thought Jesus should be a one who forgives. Forgive me for my sins. What little sins they were. Jesus, more like Satan. Good little joke. So then we leave, get some breakfast, get the hell out of there. Say Jesus, and I gave him the most glowing review I've ever given an Airbnb. I was like, AC is so good, which it was. Place is super clean, which it was. Plenty of parking, great location, good communicator. I called Jesus, and he called me a bad one. That fucking prick. But anyway, the next morning, Pat and Greg head back to LA. Jack and I continue up north, and we go to Santa Cruz on a Sunday. If you ain't been to Santa Cruz rips. It's so sick. Beautiful town. Mountains going just into the ocean. And trees and greens and hills. And it's very sick. Jack and I got there and we stayed at the most 60s motel you've ever seen in your life. It was just called the Santa Cruz Inn. And the sign was like they haven't updated it from the 60s. It was a mess. And the hotel was nice, but it was like, they're kind of, it's like charming, kind of charming, like, hey, doesn't this suck? But it was clean. If a place is clean, I don't give a shit. I've stayed in some places that are just not clean. I try to save $1 if I'm paying for the hotel. Especially when I'm paying for 2 people, me and Jack. 2 separate beds. Because we're not going to cuddle or nothing like that. So we get there, and then we go to the pier, the Santa Cruz, pier boardwalk that they have. Disaster, mayhem. So many people. Sunday. Don't recommend it. Beautiful, though. Beautiful. And then I got a wharf. Went to the wharf next day. Wharf sucked. Don't go to Santa Cruz Wharf. Can't not recommend it enough. Very disappointed by the wharf. But plenty of sea lions. If you're into that kind of shit. Anyway, we do the show at a place called Moe's, which is like a renowned kind of place in Santa Cruz. It's a music venue, and they have a big outdoor patio kind of area that they only started doing shows on during COVID. And now they still do shows there. And the show we were doing was actually, I think, supposed to be inside. So the inside is like a famous old music venue that everyone in Santa Cruz knows. Or everyone that I talk to in Santa Cruz is like, oh, Moe's, yeah, shit, that's cool. You doing Moe's? Tight. And but there was something wrong with like the taps or something. I don't know. I forget what it was. Or the AC. I don't know. And so we did the show outside, and fucking show ripped. Such a good show. Beautiful outdoor patio area. Oh heavens. There was maybe, I don't know, maybe like 50 people or something. And so sick. Saw some old friends. Shout out Carly. What up, Carly? And then we went out on the town, and shit went awry this night. Because we went out on the town, and downtown Santa Cruz, and got plenty fucked up. Us, some other people, comics, whatever, friends. Went to one bar, and then got real fucked up, and then the few of us brave souls kept going to another bar. Most people at this point were like, okay, end of night, we're leaving. But then a few of us kept going, and then things took a turn, because I went to the second bar, and at the end of the night, I just lost my keys. And I don't know how much you know about road trips, but you need your keys bad. So I was feeling some type of way and stressed out that I lost my keys. And Lord knows I took my keys out of my pocket because I was so fucked up and I wanted to do like a salmon flop on like this booth in this bar. That's why I took my keys out of my pocket. And then I did that just to get some laughs, and no one laughed as far as I can recall. And then I put my stuff back in my pocket, but not my keys. Didn't realize I didn't have my keys till it's like 1:50. I was like, oh fuck, where are my keys? So I'm looking all around the booth that I flopped on, going into the cushions, pulling stuff around, can't find it. Tell the bartender, lost my keys. They're closing up shop. She's so upset with us. We're such a drunk group of people. We'd ruined her night. We were spilling shit. And leave her a note. Hey, here's my name, my number, here's my car keys look like. Please call me if you find them. And we go back to the hotel. Me and Jack just fucking so hammered. And I just don't have my keys. And we got to leave the next morning to go to the next show, and I just don't have keys. And that sucks. This poor girl that was driving us around, we're checking her car, dumping out my bag of koozies. Maybe I put in my koozie bag. Can't find my keys. And it's just, this is like, fuck. We're on like day 2 of this damn thing. And I lost my goddamn keys. We're calling people. It's a disaster. So now I'm resigned to, well, I guess I'll get up early and I got to call AAA and like, I guess they'll give me a new key. I hope they would do that. Otherwise, I don't know. Get a new key, continue on the road trip, pay for this new fucking key, which I'm sure is expensive. And then when I get back to LA, not be able to get into my building and then have to get new keys. So I'm in a kind of a mood. And at fucking probably 3:30, 4 a.m., we get a call from this guy that was with us. He had my keys in his pocket. And I am so stoked. This might have been one of the happiest moments truly like of my life. To find out that my keys were not just gone into the ether, into like a gutter in Santa Cruz, that this guy had them. And I was like, dude, fuck yes. I'll come get them in the morning. I'm so happy that my keys are around. So he must have just put them in his pocket after I did my salmon flop. We're both at fault. So me and Jack are just celebrating. We're drinking. We got Fireball. We got drunk as hell all 3 nights that Jack and I were together. We're good buds, and we're on the road. So we really, really let loose on this trip. So we're just celebrating and laughing. Then there's a knock at the door, the Santa Cruz Inn. I was like, oh fuck, are we making too much noise? We're gonna get in trouble. We open the door. It's the guy with the keys. And he lived close enough. He lived less than a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile away. And he walked over at 4 a.m. in flip-flops. And he is like literally falling over drunk. Truly, I don't know how many times he must have fallen over on the walk over, because once he came into the hotel, he kept falling over. So hopefully it just started as he walked in. Also, when he came in, I did start giving him, we got to do a shot of Fireball. We got to do drinks. I'm so happy you got my keys. And then he just kept falling over. It was quite a mess. But all's well that ends well, because I got my keys. Oh my God, I've never been happier. But yeah, at a certain point, you got to stop getting back up. We were just carrying this man around. Brought him back to his home. Stumbling around. It was fucking awesome. I gotta do that show again. Gotta have the same exact night again. But next time I'm putting one of those air tags on my keys. Now I learned all about air tags ever since my suitcase debacle. Keys. Keys might be the next one. Anyway, next day, get up. Jack and I continue to Santa Rosa, a Monday show. And Mondays are typically the hardest nights to get shows. At least according to my agent, who kind of refuses to even try to get me Monday shows. But I got one. I actually got 2 of them on this trip. And they were pretty good. This one was fine. This was it was a Monday and not that big of a city. Barrel Proof Lounge. 6 spot. If you're in the area, go check out Barrel Proof Lounge. Because there's a really cool venue. And really cool people run it. And only about 18 people came to that one. They were a small crowd, but they were very nice. And then we went out with some of the comics after and had a blast. But it was also a Monday night, so at a certain point, they went home and Jack and I were not done hanging. So we went back to our gigantic hotel room that they gave me. Sometimes people give you a hotel, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a door deal, sometimes it's a flat fee. All these shows are different. This place paid me well and gave me a hotel because this guy that ran it was just like a big fan. And maybe overestimated how many people he thought would come out on a Monday night. I thought it was bizarre that he was like, we're going to pack it out. And I was like, I don't know if you will. And we didn't. But 18 ain't nothing to sneeze at on a Monday night. And so Jack and I went back to our hotel and just got fucking rip-roaring drunk. We finished the Fireball. We finished our Coors Lights that we bought. We were taking pictures just with like our pants off. And we were rolling around on the rolly chair. Doing like stunts and stuff in the room. It was my last night with Jack. So we were really letting loose. Celebrating a successful 3 days. So that was a blast on a Monday night. And earlier that night, I actually found out that my Tuesday night show was canceled. And it was canceled because only 8 tickets were sold. And only 8 tickets were sold because this club did not promote the show a single time. And I did a little bit, but I ain't shit. I ain't shit in Pleasanton, California, apparently. But I was a little bit annoyed. I was a little annoyed with this club's reluctance to promote. 2 days before, this guy texted me, hey, bro, have you been selling tickets on your own? Excuse me. Have you been selling tickets on your own separately? I was like, no, dude, what are you talking about? Because we only sold 8 tickets, so if we don't get like 20 sold, I think we should just cancel the show. So maybe like tomorrow, let's just like really promote the hell out of the show. And so we both did. We promoted the show the next day. For them, it was their first time ever promoting the show. Tommy T's in Pleasanton, California. And we got no further tickets sold. So only 8 total. Had to cancel the show. Sorry if you were going to come to that show, but Tommy T's doesn't promote. And they want me to come back in October, and I haven't responded. I'm not going to. I'm never going to perform there. No matter how much they say they will promote, I don't like that club. So this is now Tuesday. I dropped Jack off at San Jose Airport. And things got quiet after I dropped Jack off. Jack off. Things got quiet after I jacked off. Drop Jack off. That's the new stop, drop, and roll. Drop Jack off. And get a show canceled. So I dropped Jack off at San Jose Airport. Then I got pretty sad. It was pretty quiet after I dropped Jack off. And also, my show that night is canceled, so I don't know what to do or where to go. I was going to go to like a hotel, buy the show, but I was waiting to see if the show was even happening. Lord knows, because I had my doubts from the beginning. So I just looked up hotels in the area, like around San Jose or like somewhere north that would have a pool. Because I was just going to go in the pool. I found a Motel 6 in Belmont, California with a pool. It was like a nice pool. It was like a nice Motel 6. Shut up. Don't be one of those, oh, Spirit Airlines. Oh, you flew Spirit? You fool. Oh, you went to Motel 6? Yeah, and it was great. And the pool was great. And I got to just relax, and I went to IHOP that night. It was great to have, honestly, a night off, because me and Jack got fucked up the first 3 nights. And I would really appreciated having a night off to not have to do anything. Stayed in, drank water, slept good. Slept goodly. And then, wake up, and I gotta go to Sacramento. My first show on the trip, that is a Don't Tell comedy show. And if you don't know anything about Don't Tell comedy shows, you gotta check them out. They're awesome. Go to don'ttellcomedy.com. They're in almost every major city at this point in the U.S. And they're going abroad. It's shows with secret lineups, secret locations. You buy a ticket, then you find out the day of, like, where you're going to go. And they pack them out. They're just marketing. Their marketing is unparalleled. So I know the guys that run Don't Tell in Sacramento, the Lushes. Great guys. Stayed with one of them, to be honest with you, in his beautiful house. It was 106 degrees in Sacramento this day, and the show was outside. And still 90-something people came out. And it was in like the 90s still, temperature-wise, when the show happened. But these people just wanted to go to a show. And it was a sick show at, what was the name of it? What was the name of this place? The Flamingo. Flamingo Room or something like that. And it was great. Very hot. Then after the show, hung out with some folks, went to a bar. Here's one thing about my comedy. I might not do great. Maybe I'll do great. Maybe I'll do bad. Maybe I'll do fine. Maybe I'll do an hour. Maybe I'll do 45 minutes. Maybe I'll do an hour and a half. But I will always want to hang out after. Or most of the time. Unless it's like a dire situation. I will always hang out. I love hanging out. I treat the road like it's vacation. Even though it's really the only time that I'm working. So I go and hang out. I set the high score in skee ball with this group of Sacramento people. I set the high score like by far. It was honestly by far. I honestly mopped the floor with these sack heads. And then the next day I go to Reno. Now I have 2 nights in Reno. And if you know anything about my career at all, you know I have quite a history with Reno. I had a viral video in Reno a few years ago. Got like 3 million views. And so now I'm something of a big deal in Reno. My first night I have to go throw out the first pitch at the Reno Aces. I have to. I get to throw out the first pitch at a Reno Aces game. And that's my only responsibility for that night. So I got to just... Oh boy, did I party that night too. By the way, my first pitch, fucking great. Was it a strike? No, it was not a strike. But it was, the catcher didn't have to move. He had to just slightly move his glove down because it was like a bit low. He kind of just flipped his hand and caught it a bit low. So not a strike, but I don't know, a couple months ago I threw out a first pitch at like a college game. And it was like really bad. It was fucking embarrassing. I like ran off the field. It was bad. So I was pretty nervous, and it went well. Then I went out in the town. I know some Reno folks at this point. I met some new Reno folks. And, man, I had a blast. Reno bars don't close. I didn't realize this until you say uncle. So I stayed out late as hell. Cocaine, things such as that. And I gotta stop being so damn friendly when I'm all fucked up, because I was giving out my number to folks. I didn't even know who I was. I'm so hungover the next day. I can get up till like fucking 1 o'clock. Do the shows. It's 2 shows. And these are also Don't Tell shows. And they're both sold out. Reno needs a comedy scene, man. That city, there's no real scene there. There's one club, and it's the Laugh Factory in the fucking casino, which brings in big names, but the city has like 200 and something thousand people. It's like 260,000 people. It's a big city. They had a whole Comedy Central show based out of it. And they have one shitty comedy club. And I say shitty meaning like a commercial kind of. Have like a Chuckle Hut. Have a couple smaller venues. This city is starved for comedy. Both of these shows that I did at a tattoo parlor, Battleborn Tattoo, were both sold out. And that's not because of me. I mean, it didn't hurt. Because I'm Mr. Reno. But Don't Tell has been selling out shows in Reno before those shows. Reno wants comedy, and there's not a lot of comedy shows. And believe me, I know, because I've been trying to get on a show in Reno, or have my own show in Reno for years, ever since I blew up there in 2017. I've been reaching out to venues and comics up there, and producers and whoever, and it's nothing. It's bleak. So, Christ God, if you live in Reno, start a club out there. People will come. People want comedy. It's so sad. Because it's it's not a cool city. It's a city that I like because of what it's done for my life. It's an absolute shithole. Goodness gracious, downtown Reno is horrible. And there's other parts that are nice. But overall, not a great city, but great people. I mean, just great people. So start a goddamn club out there or something. Like a bigger show. Not these shitty shows they have there like Pizza Huts. Not Pizza Huts, but pizza parlors. Yeah, I've been scouring the Reno comedy scene, trying to see what shows I can do, and it just sucks. But I guess that's kind of Reno style. Yeah, the two shows at the tattoo parlor are sick as hell. The host kept bringing me up at both shows. I got 2 words for you. Remo Sriracha. Which was my kind of catchphrase that kind of caught on there. Yeah, there was a guy in a Remo Sriracha shirt. I met him before. He came to Remo Sriracha night at the Aces game. There was another guy who was in the Remo Sriracha Aces jersey that he bought on an auction at Remo Sriracha night at the Reno Aces game. So kind of a big deal in Reno, and the shows were sick. But it was kind of sad because that was a Friday night in Reno, like the city where I'm the mayor. And I couldn't go out because the next day I had to drive like 8 hours to Redmond, Oregon. And this was a learning experience, this tour, as far as like how I need to treat myself and how I need to treat my body. I'm going to get fucked up as much as I can. That's a given. But I can try to make it so that I'm not driving like 8 hours after a Friday night show in like one of my favorite cities. Because I really wanted to go out after that, even though I was so hungover. And it was kind of sad. After the show on a Friday night, just kind of went back to my hotel. Got up at 7 a.m. and then had to drive to Redmond. And man, that was the lowest I was. That was the lowest I felt. I was so sad. The drive from Reno to Redmond, Oregon sucks so bad. And this was now my first day on the tour where I didn't know like anyone. Like I had Jack the first 3 days. And I had like the Lush Bros in Sacramento. Those are my friends. Then the people in Reno, my friend Sydney in Reno. I got to hang out with her for 2 days. And then I fucking leave for Redmond, and I'm just like, it's my first time like really being alone. And it's a long, shitty drive. And I was so depressed. Oh my God. I literally got to the hotel in Redmond. The Redmond Inn. I keep staying at places that it's just the name of the town and then inn. And they're usually shitholes. It'll usually be the cheapest one in the area. And it sure was. I got there and I had like a mental breakdown, dude. I was like crying. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't know what the fucking show is going to be. And I never could have imagined what it was in Redmond, Oregon. Right outside of Bend. Lovely people that had me. Very responsive. Great communicators. Unlike me with Jesus, I suppose. But I get to the venue and it's just like, it's a Saturday night in Redmond. So my 2 Saturday nights I get on this tour. I guess I had 3 Saturday nights. Bakersfield is my first one, and now Redmond. And it's like this huge venue, kind of barn-like from the outside, red. And it's supposed to look like kind of like a barn, I guess. And huge, big event space, and then like a separate bar, and there's no one in there. And the doors are like locked. I had to go around to like the side door. I was like, what is happening? And I go in, there's no one in there. There's a guy's cleaning tables. It's like 6:35. And I was like, hey man, the show starts at 7, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. There's no one there. I was like, are there other comics? And he goes, I believe so. I was like, you believe so? He leaves. I go to the bar, hanging out at the bar by myself. And at about 7 o'clock, this guy comes back up. He's like sweating. He's out of breath. He's like, hey, so it's 7. We're going to get the show started in a minute. We couldn't find any other comics. So you got to just do as much time as you can. I was like, what? And he's like, but I'll go up and I'll introduce you. And he did. Bless his heart. He went up and said, hey, all the way from L.A., great guy, Ryan O'Flanagan. And then I went up and I had to just do as much time as I just stretched. I did an hour and 20 minutes. And it wasn't good. Man, I wish it were good for that long, but it wasn't. I just really killed some time. And this is where the trip took a turn. From this show forward, I really started to become anti my own fucking jokes that I'm tired of doing and started just fucking around a lot. This broke something in my brain, the Redmond show. Being up there in front of these apathetic people for 80 minutes. And a lot of them were really nice. Honestly, fucking 8 people came out after to this. There's a couple bars in this town. There's like group of 3, another group of 3, and then a father and son who are like best friends, hung out with them. Played some Keno at this bar. These people can hang. Hell yeah. So Redmond was a bizarre show. I sweated through it. 80 goddamn minutes. But it was a test. It was this tour was a real test of where I'm at comedy-wise, what I'm doing. Because I don't want to do this forever. It's a young man's game, especially the touring game. It's a young man's game, the way I do it for sure, with all the drinking and whatnot. And I just can't see myself doing it forever. And so I'm like, where am I? What do I want to do? Do I like this? Do I like my material? Do I like doing material? Do I want to just fuck around? My crowd work, I need to practice that. So it was like I got to do like a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything on this trip. So that show was memorable in that regard. And the next night I had to go up to Seattle, and honestly, 28 people came to that show. I think, maybe 30. I think it was 28 people, which is in fucking Redmond, Oregon, on a Saturday. None of them lived in Redmond. They all came from Bend. Bend is like a bigger town nearby. Oh, I went to the last Blockbuster that exists, by the way, in Bend. They're killing it. There's a lot of people in there, not buying movies or anything, or renting movies. They have like a lot of merch. I got some merch. I got some shades, some Blockbuster shades. Anyway, next day I go to Seattle. Another really long drive, about 5 hours to Seattle. This place at least hooked it up with a very nice hotel, and the show sucked. There was 16 people and 2 comps. So 18 people. I don't count those 2 as people. 16 people and 2 comps. It was the least I got paid. It was a terrible door deal. I'm grateful for any show that you'll have me on. And if you're listening to this and you are anywhere in the country and you have a venue or you know someone who has a venue or would want to put on a show and would pay me something, hit me up. I'm trying to tour more, especially with this writer's strike. Actors strike that's really making no work happen. And I haven't been working for years and years before that, if we're being honest. But I've really been pushing it with the road stuff. So please hit me up. I guarantee you we can make something happen in like 2024. But Seattle, yeah, really bad door deal. Every deal is different. And this one was notably like, wow, this is a really bad deal. Unless a shit ton of people come to this show, it's like a really shitty door deal after like a certain amount of expenses. Which I'm like, how am I going to make money from this? And I didn't. I made $63, and I had to pay the feature, who did great. Her name's Blair Dawson, and I was going to give her like $100, and I made $63. So I was like, hey, sorry, I'm going to give you $25. And she was like, it's okay. Just happy for the stage time. She was like in town anyway. But I felt bad, $25. And so yeah, I walked out of there with whatever that is, fucking $38. I sold 1 koozie. Went out with 3 fans who were like fans of mine. 2 from American Vandal, and 1 from whatever else, The Tourist or whatever. And had a great time. Went to a very cool arcade bar. Played a really cool game called like Colony, I think it was. It was like a bee game. It was like you gotta kill the queen. Such a sick game. If you never played that game, I had never seen it. So sick. Also, they did give me a sandwich at this show. I got one free sandwich. I got 2 free drinks, and 1 free sandwich. And so before I left, the guy was like, "Did you get your sandwich?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You got a sandwich." So I got, of course, the most expensive sandwich they had, which was like a pastrami sandwich. And I don't even like pastrami, really. I don't dislike it, but it wouldn't be like what I want. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was the most expensive. They were all $16 and $17, and the pastrami one was $18. So I was like, sorry, I got to get the pastrami one because I only made $63 at this fucking show. That was the other show where they had 2 gigantic fans just blowing the crowd's hair around. Super loud fans. Luckily, Blair was like, "Can you turn off one of these fans?" Like during her set. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just. I'm too stupid to do that. I would have been like, "Well, these fans are just loud. I can't even hear the audience if they're laughing." So thank God she did that. But there was still another one that was blowing strong. And then, so that was a Sunday. And then on Monday, so I had the Sunday show in Seattle and a Tuesday show in Portland, and I posted those shows. And an old friend, Gabe, reached out. Gabe lives in Chehalis, Washington, exactly between Seattle and Portland. He says, "Hey, I see you're going from Seattle to Portland and you got a day off in between. I live here. Let's put a show together." On a Monday, I was like, "Okay, dude, if you want." And I will say this for sure. Thank you to everyone who had me on all of these shows, everyone who helped, produced, and performed, and came out, and everything from every city. But the Chehalis, Washington show was for sure my favorite show. And it was for sure the best show of the tour. It was unreal. Chehalis is a suburb of Centralia, Washington, which is some fucking town. And it's a suburb of that. Very red. They told me they were walking me over. These 2. I went to a bar. It's at a place called McFiler's where the show was, the McFiler's Theater. I went to the McFiler's bar a couple blocks over, which is the wrong venue, but they walked me over a nice couple, not a couple, but a couple of people. And then the guy was like, maybe there were a couple, I don't know. And the guy was like, "Just so you know, it's very red here. You say anything good about Hillary, you will get shot." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." But that's where my comedy thrives, I think. And then we get to the McFiler's Theater. It's a beautiful theater with a mezzanine and 2 big chandeliers and a beautiful stage. Great purple lighting. And you go on, and the Monica Nevi and Sam Miller also performed, and they're both headliners. They just did this show in Chehalis with me. And you come on stage, and there's the light. They have flashing disco lights and shit and cool music. It was fucking wild. It was so nice. And then so they got about 100, maybe a little bit over 100 people out to this show in Chehalis, Washington on a Monday night, and they were having so much fun. They were a blast. They were such a good crowd. I did maybe 50 or so. And they loved it. And they loved me. Professional photographer there taking some sick shots. It was the best show of the trip. Went out after. This was another night. Oh, that's why I was saying I got to stop being so friendly. Because in Reno, I fucking gave these dudes my phone number that night. I was all fucked up and told them, "You guys got to come to the show." They didn't even know who I was, but I was like, "You guys got to come to the show. It's sold out tomorrow night, but I'll get you in. I'll get you in. Here's my number. Text me." Don't really remember doing that, but they texted me the next day, and I was like, "I don't fucking remember you." And I had to ask the producer. I was like, "Hey, can I get these guys in? I got fucked up last night and told them they could come in." She was like, "Fine." And they never came anyway. But anyway, then in Chehalis, I got fucked up. And I got this email from this woman the next day. She goes, "Hey, here's these pictures. You gave me your email last night and told me to email you these pictures." And it was just me and this woman. And we're just at this bar, just wasted, just smiling. And they're blurry. There's one I'm just kissing her on the cheek. And we are just, they're terrible pictures from an iPhone 6, looks like. And I gave her my email? Why did I do that? It must have been in my drunken mind. I was like, all right, no more giving people your phone number, buddy. Fucking emails only from here on out. But it was a great night. And then I go to Portland. Portland, this was the show my manager got me. Fucking awesome crowd. This was for sure the hottest venue, I would say. No AC. But a great venue otherwise. And it was in the side room, the lounge. And it was crazy because I've been to this place before in 2012. And they used to have the Bridgetown Comedy Festival in Portland, and I did that in, I think, 2012. And this was like the place where they would have the big shots. In the Hawthorne Theater, that's where they would have like Brody Stevens and like Eddie Pepitone and shit. And so I was like, oh shit, this is that place they used to have the big timers, and now I'm performing there. But then I was just like in the side like bar, the lounge. But about 30 people came out per usual, another 30, and they were an awesome 30. And had one fella go up before me. They told him to do 10 minutes. Whoever put this together says he can do 10 and then I do the rest. He told me that. I was like, dude, no way. Can you do more than that? Because I like to do like an hour and a half long show. I think is about normal for a show, maybe a little less. But he was like, all right, he did 25 minutes. Bless his heart. Didn't expect to do 25. Did 25. That's not easy to do. Bless his ass. And then I went up, and I was going to do like 45. I ended up doing an hour and 7 minutes. Didn't have to, but was just having such a good time with these folks. Portland crowd was great. Portland, the city, Been there probably 5 or 6 times at this point. I'm going to give it a big old Don't see the hype. But the crowd was great. Hey, another place that the people are simply great. This seemed like the most amount of people that really like knew who I was and came out, except for Reno, of course. But people really lined up after and wanted pictures and bought all of my koozies. I was selling koozies, by the way, on this trip. I'd sold some koozies. I probably sold like 100 koozies on this trip. That's my merch. If you come out to see me, I'm going to be slinging koozies. I bought 2,000 of them. And so was slinging those. I bought a whole duffel bag of koozies. This is my first time ever doing a comedy tour that like I had my own car. I just left from LA. And so I was like, I'm not going to run out of koozies. If I can bring as many koozies as I want, then I'm going to bring a shit ton of koozies. And I filled a whole duffel bag full of koozies. And I made like a slight dent in the duffel bag. Looking back, I must have sold 100, but it didn't make a dent. So I probably brought like 600 koozies. Must have been, because there was so many koozies left when I got back home. But then Portland was sad because no one hung out after. And I've been hanging out like every night. But I had no show the next day, so I was down to hang. And it was a Tuesday night in Portland. And all these fans, big fans, came out. And then none of them hung out with me after. It's kind of sad. I went back to the hotel bar and just drank by myself at the hotel bar. I was like, I don't need to be doing this. I could just not do this. I could just go to my room. At this sex hotel, by the way, which I didn't realize was a sex hotel until I got there. The Jupiter Hotel in Portland. There's a Jupiter Hotel brand condom on your side table. Did not use it. Did not have sex. And they also sell like sex kits with sex toys and shit in their little gift shop. Who knew? And I only stayed there because it was like one of the cheaper hotels in the area. What the fuck? So the sex hotel that I didn't make use of. There was like a big, weird, like empty closet kind of nook. I wonder if people use that for some chaining people up and whipping and shit like that. Probably some whipping shit going on in there. Tiny little room too. But yeah, I went back to the bar and just drank by myself. That was kind of sad because the next day I had nothing to do. The next day I have my only real day off, aside from, of course, Tommy T's in Pleasanton canceling my show, and then my Reno day where I just had to throw out the first pitch. That was not a show day. So this is my only like planned, day off. So I went to the Oregon coast and I drove all the way down the Oregon coast because my next show is in Eureka in Northern California by the Redwoods. So my whole next day I went to these coastal Oregon towns, and oh my God, if you've never been to the Oregon coast, go to the Oregon coast. It's like some Game of Thrones looking shit. There's these huge rocks. I wish I had better words than that, but they're these big rocks, monoliths, coming out of the water. They're huge. It looks fake. It looks like a set in the background of a movie. It's beautiful. And I went to these cool little coastal town, little fishing town called Newport, Oregon. Beautiful. One of my new favorite towns in the world. I gotta get a show going in Newport, Oregon. Little fishing village. But like big enough they have a Ripley's Believe It or Not and shit. And then just a bunch of boats, and you can go walk down the deck and go on the boat and buy fresh fish. Which I did not, because I was just like driving. I didn't need a bunch of fresh fish, to be honest. But yeah, stopped in these little towns. Banson. Let's go Banson. Went to Banson, went to like this little beach. This is when I really started getting big into podcasts, man. Jesus. And there's some bad podcasts, but I couldn't stand my music anymore. There's like 10 Panthers podcasts, and a couple of them are good. But I listen to fucking anything at this point. But I remember just driving down that Oregon coast, going back and forth between my podcast and my little church's kick I've been on. The band, not the religious place. And then I stayed in Gold Beach, Oregon, like right in southwestern Oregon there. Beautiful little town. Went to a little honky-tonk bar there. Got a nice like a French dip. It was delicious. Just a fucking dirty guy on the back making everything. I went back and just fucking straight chilled. And the next day, my show was in Eureka. So I went to the Redwoods. This was my big place. This is what I was looking forward to the most on the whole trip. Was going to the Redwoods and doing like a little Redwoods National Park day. A little hike. I wanted to go hike and see Hyperion, the tallest tree in the world. And then I wanted to go to Fern Valley, which is like a valley of ferns, where they film like a lot of Jurassic Park shit. It's very green and cool. So I get there, and I want to go see Elk Prairie, where it's a prairie that has elks. So I was driving in, very smoky. There's a lot of fires happening nearby, I guess. Never driven through such smoke as that. Kind of clears up by the time I get to Elk Prairie, and I saw some elk. I went to Elk Prairie and saw a few elk, and to be honest, it was like a prairie with like some woods, and then the elk were there. And honestly, to be honest, there was like a fence, and then there was like a little informational thing about elks like on the fence. And so it seems like the elks were pretty much like always in that spot. Cause why else? It's like the information thing, and the elks were just right there. So that was kind of a bummer. So it wasn't really that cool that I got to see elk that day. Because apparently that family of elk have been there probably for generations, just munching on those same leaves in that same spot. They were unfazed by people looking at them. But I did see some elk. I also this day would see a snake and a frog. Anyway, I go into the visitor center at the Elk Prairie Visitor Center. And I go to the guy and I go, hey man, I want to do the hike of the big trees or whatever it's called. Hike of the the giants, big tree hike. I want to see Hyperion. He goes, well, to get up to that parking area, you need to pass 48 hours in advance. I say, well, shit. And he goes, you're not missing out on anything, dude. It sucks. He said that. He like works at the park. He goes, it sucks. You got to climb over trees. It's like a really hard hike to see the tallest tree in the world, which isn't marked, by the way. They don't mark it because it's like old and going to fall down soon. So you have to just find on Google. Google how to find it, follow the steps, which I did. Screenshotted them, and I was going to go see Hyperion, but then I couldn't. I said, all right, fine, what about Fern Valley? He goes, buddy, you're not going to believe this. That is the only other hike in this park where the parking area, you need a reservation 48 hours in advance. I say, fuck. He says, you can hike from here, but it'll be 10 hours because it's 6 miles. I say, fuck, I don't have 10 hours. So give me some other hikes I can do. He gives me a couple other hikes. I do a couple other hikes, one good one and one bad one. But honestly, I timed both hikes, and I do an hour in 20 minutes. I did one easy hike and one pretty hard hike, and both of them came out to a 20-minute mile. So by my estimation, a 10-mile hike for me would have been 3 hours and 20 minutes, which I could have absolutely done. And then I would have seen Fern Valley. But instead I do these 2 fucking hikes. The second one sucked. Don't ever do Bear Creek hike in Redwoods National Park. Ugh! It's along a shitty creek and there's so many bugs. Yuck. Spider webs across the trail. Like, how seldom is this trail getting used? that there's spider webs across the trail, and I gotta knock them down with a damn stick. I saw a frog, though. And on the first hike, I forget what that one was called, but I saw, that one was nice. A lot of big redwoods, big trees. And I saw a snake real quick. Bear Creek hike, very difficult. Lot of up and down. And just not fun. Not even good foliage, not good trees. Just terrible. Terrible hike. And then I went to the show, and that was the least attended show of the trip. Eureka. And had never really been to Eureka, I don't think. And it's like a club too. I was kind of surprised. I walked in and there was no one there. There was some people doing improv class on stage. And the bartender goes, "Hey, it's a $10 cover." And I was like, "I'm actually the comic for the 8 o'clock show." And he's like, "Oh." And I was like, "What's going on stage?" And he was like, "That's just the people, they're doing an improv practice." I was like, "Oh, okay." Did you know how like ticket sales were? And he goes, "I think we have 5 pre-sale." And I go, 5? Bro, how much? At what point do we not do the show? Because I don't mind not doing a show. If it's a show where I'm not going to make any money, like this show, like this was a door deal as well. So I didn't make very much money this one. I think I made a little bit more than Seattle. But I think I made probably like $100 or something at this show. But we ended up getting 12 people. 12 people ended up coming, and this was the first time there was like a big timer in the back, and it was such a small crowd. It was such a like, what the fuck are we doing kind of show, that I got like 22, 23 minutes in. I saw on the clock, and I was like, what if I do my whole 45 minutes and I don't do any of my jokes? It'll be like a test, and I want to get better at that. Not relying so much on my material, which I tend to do and have tended to do in the past, but it's hard. There's a balance to be able to do your material, do some crowd work, do some riffing, just like balance all three. And I kind of tend to, once I get into one zone, I do it for too long. So I want to get better at having like a nice mix. But I do want to practice, doing just more crowd work and riffing and stuff like that. So this whole set did 45 minutes, no material. And was it good? Of course not. But, it was a good test. Like I said, this whole tour was a good little test of my abilities. And I kind of just forgot all my jokes, to be honest. Once I started not doing them after that Redmond show, I kind of just started I'll do a couple of the jokes that I like. My old fucking the dog joke. And maybe one or two other jokes that I don't mind doing and I'm not so sick of. So it was an interesting little test of where I'm at and where I'm going. And then that night went out. Some great folks. Cocaine. Next day, Modesto, California. Biggest crowd of the show. Biggest crowd of the tour. 120 people. Did they like me? They sure did not. Older crowd, didn't care for my loosey-goosey style that I had been doing on this tour. Especially this is like day 15. I'm like, I do not give a fuck. If you don't like my jokes, fuck off. Work too hard, just turn back now. If they don't like me, that's too damn bad. Little Joyner Lucas, little 508 boy. That is kind of where I'm at career-wise. The lyrics of that song. I've been doing comedy too long at this point. It's the only thing I can do. Sometimes I don't like it. It's a very love-hate, but at this point I just gotta keep doing it. And if you don't like me, that sucks. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is, unfortunately, my job. Should it be? I don't know. But it is. So if you don't like me, that's too damn bad. And that's kind of how I felt about this show. There was a few people that were having a good time. Younger people that were enjoying how much I was just shitting on the people that didn't like me. And a lot of people just were not paying attention. It was a huge room. And very grateful for the opportunity. Paid well. Great. Other comics were great. The other comics did great. I just didn't. I don't know. I also had to do like 45 fucking minutes. That's too long of a time for when people like right off the bat, you can tell they like aren't really feeling you. Like, well, I got 44 more minutes. Sorry. But I sold 2 koozies to one guy who I gave him my Venmo and he never Venmo'd me. I think it was a mistake. He was a very nice guy. Hey, if you're listening, if you're the guy who bought that, I never got your Venmo. So Venmo me. $20. Great guy. A lot of great people after the show. That's not true. There was a couple. And the other comics were awesome. We went to a bowling alley afterwards. Straight up bowled. Then went back to my hotel. Cocaine. And great night. Great night with the boys. This is at this point, like, tour's coming to a close. I'm really just in a fuck you, let it loose kind of mood. And then next night, Sacramento. This was my only show where I had to produce on my own. I had to make the Eventbrite myself. And just, my buddy Caleb up there, who runs hotels, he goes, I got a venue we can use. You make the whole event, and I'll just, make sure we can use the venue. So I was seeing these ticket sales the whole damn time. And for a lot of that time, they were not looking good. It was single digits for a while. But we ended up getting 32, I think. And it was a sick little show in the shared office space. And the crowd was so nice. Made plenty more than I thought I was going to make. And then afterwards, that was another show. I also felt bad afterwards. A guy comes up to me and he was like, good set, man. I like, how loose and stuff you were, but I really like your material. I wanted to see more of your material. And that made me sad. I was like, fuck, sorry, dude. I'm in kind of just I'm almost done with this tour. And I am phoning it in at this point. I did feel bad. I should have done more. So that's what I'm talking about. I need to get better at making it like a healthy mix. So I'm still learning. And then I went out after with these three Republicans. 3 young Republican men who work for the Republican Party in some way. And, wouldn't you know it? Cocaine. Because, this was my last night out. I have one more show the next night, but then I'm driving back to LA after that show. So I went for it. I hung out with these Republicans till 4 a.m. Cool guys. One of them I went back to his place. He has a $150,000 speaker system. He said, play whatever song you want. It's going to blow your mind. I played Nightmares by Churches. And he stopped it after the first chorus and goes, okay, what's your favorite song that's not this song? Because this song is got it's still too heavy bass, so you can't really hear the instruments. I'm like, it's not instruments, dude. It's just Churches. It's just a lot of noise. Oh, but I had a great time. Hey, great speaker system. But then, so that was a heavy night of did a lot of the bad stuff, and then woke up and then I had to drive to Monterey because remember I told you that girl in Santa Cruz who was driving us around and helping me look for my lost keys, and we were checking her car, and I was emptying my koozies out in her car. So during that time, I left my hoodie, my favorite hoodie, in her car. Shout out, and she kept it, and thank gosh, we put this girl through hell. Shout out, Emily Bruza. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your help. So I had to go, she lives in Monterey. I had to go all the way to Monterey, get my hoodie, because I love that hoodie. And Monterey's beautiful, by the way. I had never been. It was freaking stunning, the views. Saw some beautiful places. California, what a place. What a freaking state. So I go get my hoodie, get lunch, and then I go to my final show of the trip, Atascadero, which is kind of by San Luis Obispo. People kept telling me it was, people call it a trashcadero, because it's such a shithole. And I don't know. I didn't see much of it. I only saw from the highway off, and the brewery that it was at a cider brewery, and it was right off the highway. So I only saw from the highway a couple blocks over to the brewery is all I saw of Atascadero. And to be honest, that it was ugly. It was trash. Maybe there's other nice parts, but I can't imagine so. Final show of the trip, I am so out of it, dude. I think I did, I don't know, not a lot. He said I could do 25 or so. I think I probably did 30. And was just really just loopy. I had done 2 5-hour energy drinks that day because I was really tired. Couple Red Bulls. And awesome people. They were a great crowd, great show. They're going to start doing a monthly there. My buddy Justin Cross is starting to do that one. So check that out if you're in the area. At Bristol's Cider. And then from there, I was just going to drive. It was an early show, 7 p.m. show. So I was like, I'll just finish up 9 o'clock and then drive back to LA 3.5 hours. But it was such a fun hang after, and the other comics were hanging, and the people that were at the show were hanging, and everyone was having such a good time. I stayed till 11, and then I drove home. So I didn't get home until 2:30. And there was a point when I was driving, I ran out of gas, and I was almost out of gas, and there was like a real long stretch of highway. I see a sign for a gas station, so I get off the highway, and it's like nowhere in sight, and I just got scared. So I was like, I'll get the next one. So I get back on the highway, and then there's no gas forever. I type in where the next gas is, and it's like 6 miles away or something like that, and I have like 2 miles on my digital little gas counter thing. It says 2 miles you got left. So I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't know what to do. That would suck so bad after this whole tour if Big Red, my sweet baby Big Red, finally just runs out of gas. It would be my own fault, of course. After all I put her through, all the way to Seattle and back, if I just fucking didn't get enough gas. And so I run out of gas, or it goes to 2, 1, and then just dashes where the gas is. Dashes where the gas is. And there's still 4 miles to go until the gas station. And I was like, it's so dark. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And guess what? She made it. I just drove kind of slow and kind of just coasted in to this gas station. So Big Red, baby, shout out. And I got home at 2:30 a.m. And here's a little bit of bonus podcast, tying back all the way to episode 1 with sleep paralysis. This would be a great way to just end this podcast forever. But I won't. I am over an hour, it looks like, at this point. Sorry, folks. Thought I could keep this one short, and I failed. You know me. This is why my shows keep going like this. I fucking ramble. None of it is interesting, but yeah, kind of just, I see my therapist only once every 2 weeks. Maybe it should be once a week. Maybe I just need to talk some things out. But anyway, so that night, of course, that day was crazy. I had done all the drinking and drugs the night before. I had 2 5-hour energies that day, 2 Red Bulls, did the show, had a few ciders, get home and go to bed, and I can't sleep. And I get really bad sleep paralysis, like when things are weird. If I'm on a plane, weird sleeps. I took a rest in a rest station at a rest stop earlier that day too, and I had this weird sleep paralysis shit. But this night, it got so bad, I was like kept jolting up in my sleep. And at one point, I'm kind of having sleep paralysis. I start coming out of it. I'm trying to shake myself out of it. There's this figure of a woman by my bed, which is common. I see figures of people all the time, but I have it so much that I don't really get scared. I kind of just say, fuck you, and I just try to kick them and give them the finger, and I say, fuck you. And I know they're not real. I'm just trying to prove to myself that I'm not scared. And so this woman reaches out to me. She doesn't touch me, but she reaches out to me and she goes, I'm going to go out and get a stick of butter. And I was going, fine, then get the fuck out. And I'm kicking her, and my foot's going right through her because she's not real, of course. And I know she's not real. I know all this. But this is how I deal with these things. And I'm kicking and I'm screaming, get the fuck out of here. And then all of a sudden I jolt up. And I'm sitting in my bed and I'm screaming. And the woman at this point has turned into a man figure. And the man is at the end of my bed, kind of by my computer desk. And I wake up and I'm screaming, get out of here! And then the guy, I assume to this point that I'm having sleep paralysis, but then I jolt up and my eyes are open and I'm in my room and the figure of the guy is still there for 2 seconds. And I am just stunned. I'm just staring at this kind of a silhouette of a guy. And then it slowly, after a couple seconds, just fades away. So I guess I just hallucinated a little bit. I was so sleep deprived and my brain was so fried and weird that in my weird sleep paralysis state, it lasted a little bit into being awake. And I saw this figure at the end of my bed and I was my eyes were open. I was looking around my room and he was just there. And then he just slowly disappeared. Like that gif of that black kid giving the peace sign and disappearing. It was that quickness of fade. That was a great little comparison. Good job, Rye. So it was like that. So that was one of the scariest sleep paralyses I've ever had. Sleep paralyses. And I've made myself fall out of bed sometimes and really hurt myself. But that was fucking scary. I was man, maybe that was a ghost. Maybe it was a ghost. I was kind of spooked for the rest of the night. And then next night I was fine. And now I'm fine. And now everything's fine. And the tour was a success. I made more money than I thought I was going to make. And some shows were great. Some shows were fine. One show got canceled. But thank you to everyone who came out to the tour. Thank you to everyone who helped me put the tour together. I'm going to do more road stuff this year. Please check my website, RyanO'Flanagan.com, so you can see all my shows I'm doing. And if you can help me get a show, do so. Hook me up. I would love to come to your town. And I'll party with you. That's for damn sure. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your road trip that I know you're on. See you whenever. I'm probably going to do more episodes where I'm just talking about my tour and shit. Ain't nothing else interesting happening. So probably see you in a couple months. Thank you so much for listening. This is Ryan O'Flanagan signing off.